Welcome back to another video. It's Adia and we are coming in swinging with a watercolor painting of a frog, and I just thought it would just be a fun painting. As you see, I have a flash on to show like little glitter gel pen that I used, and I'll have a link to all of the products that I used in this video as well as the watercolor paint too. And we will be using the Winslow Newton mini watercolor set for this tutorial. I hope you guys find this tutorial helpful, and right now I'm going to start off with my sketch. And if you guys need to, you can always slow down the video, but yeah, I'm just doing a quick sketch so I know where I'm putting my paint at and where exactly I'm going to trace with the gel pens. And I basically went with a more stylistic approach with this frog, just so anybody at any skill level is able to do this tutorial. I also needed a reason to use my glitter gel pens that I just bought. Also, if anybody is also using the glitter gel pens, before I even start with it, I didn't even realize until I was in the process of using them how fast it smudges because it doesn't dry very fast. So I did end up smudging it just a little bit. And also it kind of moves around once you add like the watercolor, but it ended up turning out just fine. So just a little disclaimer for people who will be using gel pens in this tutorial, just to let it dry a little bit and not to let your hand smear it, because I just have a problem with letting my hand smear all over whatever canvas I'm sketching, which is why I don't really do oil paint. If you guys would like to pause right here, this is basically the entire sketch of what you'll need your frog to look like. And right now I'm going in with my gel pen that I have. I think it's like a dark purple. And as you can see, I'm just filling in the eyes, and I'll be doing that to the other eye as well, filling in the little nose holes and the outline, just because I kind of wanted a strong outline. As the video continues, I did end up doing the outline in a green glitter pen, glitter pen. But if you guys don't have it, you guys could also use like a regular pen if you want, or not do an outline at all, and you can just go in with your watercolors. And another thing that I want to say, if your pen does smudge like mine did, the watercolor ended up covering it up anyway, so it should be fine. Unless it's like outside of the design, then like I would just do like a little background, to cover up to like the little smudge marks, which would mean, since this gel pen smudges, and it smudges kind of bad, to be honest, it wouldn't be very good for people who are left-handed, now that I'm thinking about it, and I'm right-handed and I was smudging it. So, but maybe I should have just worked on that eye, like the left eye first, before I started on the right eye. That's just on me. But yeah, I also had the flashlight because I couldn't tell that it was sparkly until I put the flash on. So now I'm going in with my green gel pen, and one other thing about this glitter gel pen, I did notice with some colors you had to like go over it again, just because it wasn't as opaque as I would like it to be. So yeah, there was just some spots where I had to like go over it. Like, as you can see, I like had to go over because it didn't do it the first time. As you can see, I learned from my lesson. My hand is like hovering above the green that I already put down because I didn't want it to smudge. But as you can see, like where the eye is, it like smudged a little. And now that I think about it, I don't know why I have all those paintbrushes in the video, because I only used one paintbrush. But anyway, we're not on that part yet. And keep in mind that this is just supposed to be a fun drawing, so don't be too hard on yourself if it doesn't come out exactly the way mine is looking. And I am almost done with the sketch. Before we start with the paint, just make sure you guys have a little cup of water and some paper towels to be able to dry off your brushes. And yeah. And then just to let you guys know, I am no master in watercolor paint. painting. But this is just a little tutorial to show you how I use it and how you guys can use it too. Okay, so like I said in the beginning of the video, I will be using the Sketcher Pocket Set from Winslow Newton. It comes with 12 colors. As you can see, I've used it, and if you saw the little brush, that's the brush it comes with, but I won't be using that brush. I'll be using one of my own brushes. I just like a brush that's a little longer than the one that comes in the set. And if my camera wants to focus, this is just the brush that I'm using. It says it's the number 3. I think it's considered a round brush, so that's what I will be using. And right now I'm going in with lemon yellow. Now, some of you might be asking, why am I going in with yellow instead of green? Well, for watercolor painting, it's best to build up your colors, and the way that I'm doing that is starting off with a bright yellow, just so it has a nice bright, vibrant base for when I put down that sap green. And as you can see, I did say that the gel pens would kind of bleed a little bit with the watercolor paint, which is fine. By the end of it, you don't really notice it. Not me knocking on the camera. By the end of it, you don't really notice it. And as you can see, you can kind of see the smudge like going away a little bit. But yeah, I'm just kind of building up that lemon yellow. And there is quite a bit of water on my brush, but I am starting off on dry paper. So I didn't add any water to the paper. I'm just going in with the watercolor and tons of water on my brush. I will also go into the belly of the frog, and I used a lot of water because I didn't want it to be super vibrant. I just wanted to be like a tad bit of yellow, so it's not like stark white. And I did leave some white spots purposely because I did want some highlights in the frog, and I'm going in with my sap green. And keep in mind, at this point, the paper is now damped with the previous color, and now I'm going in with the sap green, which is even more water on top of that. So as you can see, it's like super liquidy, but not liquidy to the point where it's starting to bleed all over the place. And with the sap green, we're going to do the same method that we did with our lemon yellow. With my lemon yellow, I kind of went in swinging hard a little bit, but we are building up this sap green, so you want to go in a little bit at a time and just kind of build up that color. And keep in mind, I am working on watercolor paper, so if you guys do end up going in a little bit too dark and your paper is still wet enough, you can just grab a paper towel and kind of dab off the color. And see, as you can see, I'm like developing the color on the frog. And keep in mind, building up color, you can really do this in any form of painting, but it's especially it's especially important when you are working with watercolor, just because watercolor, it's very hard to recover from watercolor when you start dark, which is why people who do watercolor, they start super, super light and they build up the color from there. And make sure that you're working kind of slow just so you can kind of contain the color to see where it's going. And what I mean by control, the amount of water you have on the page will kind of guide you to see how much control you have. The more water, the less control that you'll have, and it'll start seeping and doing what watercolor does best. And at some points, I do have a lot of water just because I did want it to kind of bleed out and blend into the other colors that I had on the paper already, which is that lemon yellow. As well, when you're working on watercolor, it's really important for you to have an idea of where your darkest values are and where your lightest values are. I mean, that's super important for any painting, but it's especially painting when you are doing watercolor, because you want to know where exactly you're going to build that color at and where you want to leave the the lightest spots, which is why there are white spots that I have intentionally left open, because I want those to be the brightest points. And as you can see, it has this kind of fading thing going on where it's like white-ish yellow, like light sap green, and the darker the sap green is, because I'm developing the color. And I have the least amount of water by the eyes, nose, and mouth, and the most amount of water by the legs. So as you can tell right there by the stomach, I don't have a whole lot of control. I kind of just wanted the watercolor to blend into the colors a certain way at the bottom versus at the top. At the top, I really wanted to have more control just to make sure that I didn't have too much water and it going outside of the lines or going into the eyes and making the heart green or something like that. And now I'm going to be going in with my dark green. And as you can see, I'm just adding a bunch of water because I don't want it to be super opaque because like I said, it's very hard to take away from a watercolor painting once you put dark values in. So I went ahead and added a ton of water just to make sure that I wasn't going in too dark too fast. So basically, like I did with the lemon yellow and the sap green, what I'm doing with the dark green, I can't remember the exact color of the name, but what I'm doing with the dark green is exactly the same type of technique. It's just building on with the color. And as you can see, I really wanted the edges, at least of the little like eye hoods, to be pretty dark, as well as where the legs and the body connect and like the hands and stuff. I just wanted those areas to be a little bit more darker than the rest. And now I just want to develop the color a little bit more. So I did go in with cadmium yellow, and honestly, it was a game changer in my mind. I really liked how the cadmium yellow like really added the, I don't know, it was just like a rich yellow versus like a bright yellow that the lemon yellow gives to the painting. And if you guys already have your own like watercolor set at home, you don't have to use the exact colors that I'm using. You can use something that's similar to the color. Like if you don't have sap green, you just have like a light green or something like that. You could do something like that. Or you can like mix your colors and try to get the colors that I have. You can't really do that with cadmium yellow, but if you have like cadmium yellow and you don't have lemon yellow, then maybe you can use cadmium yellow and add some white to it. Oh, and I'm just like having the flashlight so you guys can see the glitter effect that the glitter pens have on this painting so far. You can, and with the light, you can also see how much water is on that paper, like especially where the legs are, where the feet are, there's a lot of water. So basically I'm working like wet on wet, like none of it is dry, so it's all like blending in very nicely. I also forgot to mention that, okay, so I did mention that I am using watercolor paper, and if you use regular paper, your paper will warp, which is why my paper is not warping. Like you guys might be asking, like, why isn't my paper warping? And if your paper might be warping, that's why, because you're not using watercolor paper. So I just want to let you know if you guys are having any type of issues with your paper. Also, sometimes watercolor paper can sometimes warp when you have a ton of water on the paper, but yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know if you are having any type of problems with paper moving around, ripping or something. If I can remember where I bought this watercolor paper, I'm pretty sure I got it at Michael's, but I'll also try to leave a link down below if I can find the exact watercolor paper that I'm using, or even like a similar watercolor paper that I'm using. I bought it so long ago, so I can't exactly remember. And by the way, if you guys see like where my darkest line is, it is extremely wet. So I did end up blending it out. So if you guys already have that, just make sure you have some water on it so it doesn't dry too fast, because we are going to add some more greens and yellows just to blend it out. And as you can see here, I'm going into the cadmium yellow just to blend it out like I said before, because it was a little bit too dark and I wanted it to be not as dark, but I kind of liked how dark it was. I just wanted it not to be so blunt. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Trying to make it a more smooth transition, such as how I did on the left side. And this is why I added in that cadmium yellow instead of like a green or anything, just because I knew that would help soften the edges and add some more brightness to it. So I added yellow in certain spots just to make it a little brighter, and as you can see, like on the hands and a little bit on the eyes. But if you guys have made it this far into the video, thank you guys for watching. Please like and share this video and comment down below on what you would like to see next. Bye!